Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
Welcome aboard Truly Expat Travel, where we're ditching the guidebooks, fastening our seatbelts, and diving into real stories from travellers who have traded the ordinary for the extraordinary, proving the world really is too big to be left unexplored. Cabin crew, be seated and ready for takeoff. Welcome back to the Truly Expat Travel Podcast. I'm your host, Paula, and today I'm going to talk to you about a place that I once lived in Malaysia called Kuala Lumpur. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of Kuala Lumpur, and I'm pretty sure most people in Asia or who've traveled in Asia have either, stopped through there or actually been there. But I want to talk about Kuala Lumpur because I think it's underrated. I think that most people just stop in and think that it's just a city, but there is a lot to do. So let me get started. Firstly, I was in Kuala Lumpur for 3 years before I was in Singapore. And in that time, I lived in both Mont Kiara, which is a very big expat area, and Damansara Heights, which is also a very big expat area. The good thing, I guess, about Kuala Lumpur is that you could live anywhere and it really doesn't matter. You don't actually have to be in an expat area. We just chose there because we weren't sure at the time whether or not my son would be going to school in Mont Kiara or whether or not he would be going to school at the Australian school, which he did, which was kind of not anywhere near that. But the reason we chose Mont Kiara was because it was kind of halfway between the city where my husband worked and the school, the Australian school, which was out further near at the Mines Shopping Mall and Cyberjara, that kind of area. So anyway, let's get started. I guess I wanted to talk to you about Kuala Lumpur and what it's famous for. So, okay, it's famous for its food and shopping, firstly. I quite often, even when I was living, I can say this now, when I was living in Singapore, which was literally last week, I go up there quite a bit, and I wanted to say two things, right? Firstly is that, yes, you can catch a plane there, but also I did a whole thing where I caught a bus. So there is a bus line, which I'll link in the show notes, that I highly recommend because I actually enjoyed the bus ride to KL from Singapore better than I liked the flight. And that is because of two things. One is sure, you do get a lot of traffic. I've driven back and forwards to Kuala Lumpur. I used to drive back and forwards quite a few times to Singapore, and you can do that. It's a lot of traffic, but you can do that. So if you pick a time that is outside of the main traffic jams, the rush hours, then you should be sweet. You should be fine, and there won't be a big build up at the border. That's where the main congestion is, getting in and out of Singapore or in and out of Kuala Lumpur, either way. So the reason I really enjoyed it was because they're big seats like you would get in a business class, and you get a screen so you can watch TV, and their little desk, and you get a little meal. It's not great, but you get a meal. And you can relax, actually. You can actually relax. So I've done it a couple of times where I have watched movies when it was a night trip, or if it's a day trip, got my laptop and worked. I think that the reason I also really liked it is because it drops you into KL, into the city. If you were to catch a plane, the city is not very close to the airport. So it's about over an hour's drive in traffic, or it's about an hour's drive without traffic, or you can catch a train. So it prevents that. And also you're waiting 2 hours. You have to be at the airport 2 hours before anyway. So for me, all up, it took me about 5.5 hours. If I was to catch a plane, the plane ride's 1 hour, be there an hour, 3 hours, 2 hours before. Then you have to be an hour to take you there. It's pretty much roughly close to or the same. So yeah, I would highly recommend catching the bus. I really liked it, and it's an excuse to and you know what? I can actually do more work on the bus than I could if I was flying anyway, because you get that 1 hour in the flight, and then you get an hour or so at the airport. Anyway, I digress. Let's get started. So yeah, I quite often went up there for food, because the food is great, and also the shopping. It's so much cheaper than it is in Singapore. So for me, when I lived there, that's the one thing I loved. There is lots of malls. Like, there is next level amount of malls that there are for everything. So just be wary that when you go, it's going to be busy. But, you've got the main ones in the city, the Pavilion and the Twin Towers and the new one called T-Rex away. So if you park yourself in the city, the last time I was there, I actually stayed near the pavilion so that I could walk to the pavilion and I could also walk to the new mall, which, you know what, for all of a sudden has escaped me the name, but I will put it in the show notes for you. And also the food. The food is incredible and it's cheap. It is cheap compared to what you would get in Singapore. It is so much cheaper. It's also famous for the Twin Towers or the Petronas Towers, which is iconic. So you see them from everywhere really in the city. You can go up to the towers or you can eat. There's a big shopping mall underneath. So there's a lot of restaurants that I used to go to. I used to go to Twin Towers a lot, to be honest. And that was because they had some really good cafes and stuff. So I would meet up with friends. It's also famous for multicultural living. So you have, like you do in Singapore, you have your three cultures. You have your Chinese, you have your Indian, and predominantly you have your Malay, obviously, because you're in Malaysia, which then makes you which is quite unique, and it also allows you three amazing cuisines to try. So yes, you can find areas there that are predominantly the type of food, but generally speaking, you can find it anywhere, except, I mean, in Chinatown, you find Chinese food, and there's an area that is very similar to Little India where you can find really good banana leaf curries and stuff. So that is also what it's famous for. And it's also really a mix of ultra modern versus old style Malay. So in Singapore, they've got rid of pretty much all of the kampongs, which are the little villages. I think you have one kampong left in Singapore, but in Kuala Lumpur, you still have them, which is really lovely. So you see these little towns that have got the still traditional way of living. I like that about Malaysia, and I like that about Kuala Lumpur. It's always gets, it's a bigger country, Malaysia, but it's just so much to explore outside of the city. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but in KL itself, it is a busy city. It's a little more rustic. I'm going to say it's a little more rustic. It isn't as safe as Singapore, so you do still have to be careful of your bags and stuff for pickpocketers. But generally speaking, it's much more safer than a lot of other places that I've ever been on my own. It's also famous for night markets. They've got lots of night markets there and hawker centres. So they've got hawker stores. They've got the old traditional way of food carts outside, pop-up stores. You've got areas where you can actually go to the they're not quite hawker centres like we have in Singapore. They're a little different because they're not regimented like they are in Singapore. There is still hawker centres though. They're similar. It's an easy gateway to the rest of the Malaysia. Places in Malaysia that you want to go and visit, you will stop in KL to get there. Outside when you come into the country, it's a diverse. I spoke about that. It's diverse, and it's a diverse country with lots of different religions. So the areas and the attractions that I think you should visit, or the things that I want to recommend, is definitely Bukit Bintang. So Bukit Bintang is the area where you've got bars and restaurants. So at night it's lively. Yeah, sure, it's a little bit touristy, but I actually really like it. Even when I wasn't living there, before I was living there, I used to go there all the time. I guess I didn't go there as much when I was living there, but when I did, I always had a lot of fun. There's a Havana bar on the end. There's quite a few good little restaurants. You can walk up and down and see what you feel like. It's just got a really good vibe. You can walk there from you can walk there from the city centre, like near the pavilion or the Twin Towers, but you can catch a grab as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. Chinatown, definitely go to Chinatown. It's not as big as other places like Singapore, but they do have a Chinatown. They've got lots of stores. It's everything that you expect. You can put your feet in the water and do the fishes and stuff, if that's your thing. You can get massages. I mean, the massages there are a quarter of the price from Singapore, but they're just as good. Or in fact, sometimes I think they're even better. You can get a full body massage, foot massage, whatever. There's so many places to get them done. So you could probably get it. I don't know. The last time I was there, I got a foot massage for like 20 Singapore dollars, 25 Singapore dollars, which is, I don't know, whatever currency that you're speaking that you're thinking in. Batu Caves is another place that is definitely worth jumping on your bucket list because it's changed. They've done it all up. So they've painted the stairs now. You can go into the caves and have a look at the beautiful temple. Be careful of the monkeys. The monkeys are smart and they're angry. The monkeys in Malaysia seem to be a little bit more hostile than they are in Singapore. For whatever reason. But the monkeys there, they smell everything. So keep away from them completely, ignore them. Put all your food in your backpack and zip it up because they will attack you because they'll smell it. Drink bottles, put them in your, do not allow them to see anything because they'll try and grab it. And do not, whatever you do, try and get a photo with them because I've seen a guy get attacked while I was there. There is also cave tours you can do. In there if that's your thing as well. I would also go to KLCC Park around there. The skyline is just beautiful. It's cooler at night, like much cooler. So if you are going to do any walking, the nighttime is probably a better option. I do find it so much hotter in KL, and I think that's because you don't have the breeze of the ocean and all of those sky-rise buildings make it more condensed and hot and sweaty. I just find I'm really hot and sweaty there. So I don't really find myself out and about outside as much as I do in Singapore for whatever reason. So the KLCC Park is lovely, but you do get pickpocketers there. So just be careful. So the best time to visit, I believe, is probably, it depends on you. I prefer the rainier season just because it's a little bit cooler. I'm not going to say a lot, but it's a little bit cooler. The rain does cool it down a tiny bit. It used to be just lots of thunderstorms in the afternoon, but it seems to be raining all day now. And I find that in Singapore as well. It's like an all day thing. I do think if you are not the type of person that will go out and about in the rain, then maybe during the middle of the year is a better option. But be reminded that it is super, super hot. And remember to always take an umbrella, always spray jacket. I don't take spray jackets because I get hot and sweaty in them, but take something to cover yourself. Also, shoes are really important if you're going to walk out and about because the footpaths are not quite. Some areas the footpaths are a little bit tricky. So if you're wearing uncomfortable shoes, it's not the best place to be wearing them. So I'd be wearing some comfortable shoes if you're going to go out walking. And I'd also make sure that you take, I would also say take a little bit of cash with you as well as your card. And I'd also take a portable fan if you're like me and you sweat a lot because honestly, it is next level. It gets really, really hot. Also, and take a shawl or a cardigan or something because in the shopping malls and in the public transport, it's freezing, like freezing cold. In the movies, if you're going to go to the movies theater, which I highly recommend because it's so cheap, especially if you go gold class, it's very, very affordable, but it is freezing. There's blankets in there for a reason. Getting around. So getting around, if you're not going to hire a car, if you're not going to travel all through Malaysia, then I wouldn't hire a car. Driving there is different. It's busy, like busy. It was fine with me after a while, but the first couple of days I was there and driving, we actually had a driver for the first, I don't know how long it was, 6 months that we were living there because it was scary, like really scary. And then when he left, I had to drive. I didn't have a choice. You get used to it. You just get used to it. But there's a lot of bikes, like a lot of motorbikes. So if you can, avoid it because Grabs there, which is like an Uber, is cheap. Like it's so, so affordable. So it doesn't really make sense to drive if you don't have to. So I would either use Grabs or there's a free kind of bus around the city if you're staying in the city, which is really lovely. It's because it's free and it gets you from A to B pretty quickly. So I would use that. The trains are really good there now. They've got a whole new metro system in there. And also, I've never caught a bus, to be honest. I don't know what buses are like there. I have heard that they are not that great. So not that I would avoid them. I just don't know. I can't really tell you that. There are some areas that are walkable, but not many. I'll be honestly, not that many. So in terms of souvenirs, so if you don't want a magnet, I would say if you're not going to get a magnet, then you definitely go off and get some handmade batik. Batik is, you know what, and I also, while you're there, I would do a batik class or even just go somewhere that shows you how they print on the clothing. So it's a very old traditional style. I know that they also do Batik in Indonesia and other places like Sri Lanka do it as well, but it's very, very famous in Malaysia. So you could get some Batik prints, either prints for the, to stick on the wall and the frame, or Batik clothing to wear. The other thing that's quite popular there, or quite famous for, is your pewter from Royal Selangor. So that you can get, what you can do actually at the Royal Selangor Visitors Centre, you can actually do a class where you can make some stuff like jewelry and things like that. I would do that. That's actually quite unique. And I also would try their coffee. It's not for everyone, but kopi, which is it's actually the same as Singapore. So if you like the local coffee in Singapore, you'll like the local coffee in Malaysia. Not my favorite thing in Malaysia. I actually stopped drinking coffee in Malaysia because I found it really hard to get a like an old school coffee, like a Western coffee, if that's the way to explain it. So I kind of stopped drinking coffee. It is very common to have iced coffee there just because it's very, very hot, which I found quite too bitter for me. Anyway, that's just me. The local tea is nice though, because Cameron Highlands is not that far away, which is all the tea plantations. So yeah, the local tea is actually quite lovely if you like black tea. If you want your souvenirs like everyone else gets your magnets and stuff, you can go to the Central Market, which is where you'll find all that stuff, key rings and scarves and, all that sort of thing. You can also find the material that they use in Malaysian Airlines, if that's also your thing. Tipping. Now, I always get scared when I go to a place about tipping because I'm never sure whether or not I should or not. It scarred me because I'm so worried. Like I'm about to head to the States and I'm super scared about tipping. So I'm just going to have a lot of spare change on me. And I don't know, especially when I'm traveling alone, it just bothers me. But anyway, let's get into the tipping. So the tipping in Malaysia really it's not something that everyone does. However, if you go and get a massage, you do tip. Not that much, but you do tip. You round up if you're at a restaurant and you really like it. You tip your Uber driver or Grab driver if you want to. But generally speaking, not really. Cards are accepted more now than they ever have. And I think that was because of COVID, especially during COVID. But cash is good in hawker markets and things like that. So yeah, I would go with both. And if you don't already, if you use your own credit card, yeah, that's fine. But I actually use Revolut, and this is not a sponsored ad or anything. I'm just letting you know. I use Revolut when I travel, and I think that's because it's just so easy. Because no one can ever scam me because I just put the money on there on how much I want to spend, and I don't put all my money on there. I just put a couple of days worth of what I want to spend because then I can't get scammed because I have heard of lots of scams in Malaysia. I know I have been. So that's why I use Revolut and cash, and I have a bit of cash on me. The must-try foods, now you have to try it in Nasi Lemak. I know we've spoken before. I spoke to Irene about Langkawi. So a lot of the same foods in Langkawi is what I'm going to kind of recommend here. But like chakwai tao, my husband's favorite. He seems to purchase that everywhere we go if that's an option. Obviously the banana leaf rice and the curry, I really like that. And the satay, the peanuts with the peanut sauce. I'm going to be controversial and say I actually like it better than I like the Singapore one. I really, really, really like it. The roti canai and, going to the hawker markets. But if you want international food, you do have Nobu and you have a few other options like oh my gosh, what is the name of it? Cross that out. There are also high-end restaurants in and around KLCC that are some good options if that's more your thing and you don't want local foods. I said before, you've got Nobu and you've got that whole tower where is right next to KLCC. So for my perfect 3-day itinerary, what I would do is I would actually go to a local coffee shop, not a fancy one, a local Malay coffee shop, and try their coffee just because you have to while you're there. I would walk around KLCC. I would have a look around there. I'd go up to the Petronas Towers and have a look up there. That should take all your morning. So by the time you hit lunchtime, you'll be hungry and have something to eat at KLCC. You've got a food court there, or you've got lots of restaurants. There's a Szechuan, actually, now I think about it, there's a Szechuan restaurant in KLCC that's worth trying. I've tried it's a chain, but I've tried it in Singapore and actually put it out on TikTok because I really loved it so much. So that's also worth trying if you like hot food. Okay, so in the afternoon, I would then go and look around pavilions. So today is all about shopping. And so by the time that evening, by the time you hit that evening, I would definitely go to the helipad. So it's a bar on top of it's a rooftop bar that once was a helipad. So that's why it's called helipad. It's got beautiful views and it's definitely worth ticking off the box because I don't think I've ever been to anything quite like it anywhere in the world, to be honest. Okay, so day 2, we're going to do a little bit something different. In the morning, we're going to go to Batu Caves. Now, you have 2 options. You can stay there and do the cave walks, like the tours, which will then probably be most of your day. But if you don't want to do the cave walks and you just want to go see the temple, then I would go and spend the whole morning there. I would probably do a tour. That would probably be my best bet. I've only ever driven there, so I don't know how easy it would be to get there and what the cost would be in a grab. But I would do a tour because then you get to learn a little bit more about the area than what I did or what I did with my visitors, where we just walked around and had a look. Because there is a little temple there. There's a big temple inside up the steps. And also remember, you have to cover your knees. So if you have a sarong or something like that, just bring it with you to cover yourself. That's what I normally do, or put a skirt on, a long skirt. If you're male, you can wear a skirt too if you want, but generally if you're female, you wear the skirt. In the afternoon, go explore Chinatown, have a look around Central Market, and then I would go to Bangsar. So Bangsar is a really cool area. There's a lot of expats there, but there's a really cool area for lots of great restaurants and bars. So I would end up having my dinner there. I think that I love that area actually. It's quite nice to just kind of look around. Day 3, you're going to do a big day trip outside of the city and you're going to go to Malacca. You can actually go to Malacca for the day. It's a couple of hours there and a couple of hours back. So I would do a tour for that one, unless you've got a car, because otherwise it's going to be a bit hard to get there. You can catch the bus, but then you might as well stay overnight, and we don't want to do that. So if you're time restricted, do a tour. You go to Malacca and you can do the river walk, and there's a lot of Peranakan history like you'd have in Singapore there. You can get one of those little, I don't know what they're like a trisaw, but they're all jazzed up and they've got lots of music happening and they've got lights and stuff. Yeah, you might as well do something like that while you're there. There's a Dutch square. It's very European kind of history there. So I do the Dutch square. There's red buildings. And also remember, I would go on an early morning tour. I wouldn't leave it too late. You can also go Jonker Street. That's kind of like the main street, and you can try the local food. There's some really great restaurants there as well. Try the chicken rice balls. They're nice. They're very nice. And then return to by the night you'll end up in KL. So yeah, spend the whole day in Malacca. Now I think that there are some hidden gems in the neighborhoods. So if you go to the Majestic Hotel, it's probably one of my favorite hotels. It has this most beautiful you can have high tea in the orchard room. It's so pretty. It is so, so pretty. So if you're going to spend an extra day, definitely go there. Stay there if you can. They've got a beautiful brunch. Yeah, like a brunch buffet style thing that you can go to, like a champagne brunch. If you're there on the weekends, I think they still have that. I really, really like that hotel. I don't know. It's just quite something quite special. Obviously, go to Bangsar. You can go to Publica, which is a little more artsy, creative, and it is less touristy. So if that's what you like to do. Kampong Baru, which is a traditional Malay area, it has amazing food. So if you, and it's not that far from the city, and it's got skyscrapers in one section, and then you've got like little tiny houses in the right next to it. It's very, very cool. You don't really see that much in other places. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I would do in Malaysia if I was there. Oh, the other thing, if you do have an extra day, you could also go to Cyberjaya, around that area. It's a little bit far, so you get your train there. Pretty sure you can get your train there. I think I have caught a train down there before. They have the Pink Mosque. It's quite an interesting thing to do as well while you're there. They have, if you like birds, they've got a really great bird park. Well, I'm not going to say it's really great because I've been to other ones that are absolutely amazing. But if that's your thing, you can go to the bird park. And then there's got like a little national park, not a national park, botanical gardens there. It is small. There's some walkways you can do. You can go around there. You know, I think KL is underestimated because there is really great things you can do outside of KL as well. So you can go into the Fireflies, which is a night, obviously a night thing, but you can also go off to the Elephant Sanctuary. That's also really lovely to see. So yeah, if you're going to go to Malaysia, please try and stay there for at least a few days and check out the city because I think it's worth going. I really do think it's worth going. But anyway, that's just me. So that's all from me today. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you next week on the Truly Expat Travel Podcast. Bye for now.